My name is Doug Skinkis. The company name that I'm using is Burnt and Branded. I make custom handmade legacy hats. I hesitate to say cowboy hats because some of them are fedoras. I can make derbies, whatever you really want. About 35 years ago, I started doing wood burnings, and I still do those. So I do wood burnings and hats and whatever else you can come up with. The first step we're going to do in making this hat, they come to me like this. So it does look like a hat, but you can see it's rather misshapen. The brim is very large, so we'll cut that down later. But we have to steam this guy. This is 100% rabbit. I can do a rabbit and beaver blend, 50-50. I can also do 100% beaver. These hats are made to last. You can wear this out in the rain. You can pass this down to your kids. That's what I'm going for, legacy hats. My dream is that someday I'll be up in heaven and I'll see a little grandchild pick up a hat and say, this used to be Pop Pop's hat, or whatever the grandfather was called. So we're gonna steam this guy. We gotta get it wet. We're gonna steam it. We're gonna shape it over this hat block. This hat will be from my wife. Don't make fun of her, she's got a big head. So she's a 7 3/8. That's the size of this block, the diameter of it. So when we pull this down over, we're gonna strap a rope around it and we'll size it to her head. And then we'll move on. So we got our pot boiling over there. This is a really quick way. A friend of mine, Billy, over at 5150 Custom Hats, showed me this little trick. I'm so appreciative of him and the things that he's taught me. It's a fast way to steam a hat. But before we do that, we got to get this guy a little bit wet. This will just help in the steaming process. And the first time I actually did this, I obviously was a little hesitant and scared. But Billy was here, so he walked me through this process. But before him, I was just using like a regular steamer. And this cuts the process way down, way down. So what I love about these hats, and people say, can I wear it out in the rain and everything? You can see, I mean, it's not coming through. This thing is pretty tight, and you can wear it out in the rain. I wouldn't wear it in a downpour. Any hat that you wear in a downpour is going to lose its shape. But guess what? The good news is, if your hat loses its shape, I'm here. And I can reshape it for you. That's always possible. So they got this good and wet, and we're gonna just pop it on top of this pot. One thing I like to point out too is when these come in, even though they're misshapen, they're very rigid. It's hard. There's no way that you can kind of push this and shape it. So this steaming process, we'll watch the top of this hat. This will take a little bit. But you'll start to see the whole top of this hat will start to sink down into the pot. And what that's meaning is that it's all just getting soft. The wetter the better. The bad part about getting it real wet is that it has to dry. So we do need to let it sit, for a day, sometimes two. But in Florida, we have the blessing of the heat and the sun. So I can stick this thing outside, and if it's a hot day, in a couple hours, it'll be dry as can be. Smoke signals. My friends make fun of me because I don't like heat. I don't take hot showers. I don't drink any hot liquids. I picked the worst hobbies for myself because wood burning is nothing but hot instruments. This thing gets hot and I start to get a little anxious. I don't know why. I've never been burnt. It's just that I don't like to reach inside the stove. So every once in a while you'll hear me scream like a little girl because it'll burn me up a little bit. But we also get nice facials while we're working on this. That's a cool picture right there. I love this process. So you can see the top of the hat starting to sink down a little bit, and if I squeeze this, now you're seeing it's starting to soften up. pot is angry. Woo! That's nice. We want to get it soft enough so that when we take it to the hat block and we pull it down, we're going to stretch these fibers. And we're almost there. Pull them down pretty hard. It will not rip, but we want to get all of this to be nice and tight and shaped to that block. The unfortunate part of this process is that even though this is shaped to what would be like somebody's head, everybody's head has little divots in it and stuff. So I do like making hats for people that are local because I'll visit them 2 or 3 times to have them try it on and make adjustments. It's not so easy when we're shipping it to somebody. This process goes back a long time ago. I was watching a show. They found hats that were made, back in the Old West, and they were able to tell that they were doing the same process because they could see where the knot in the rope was. The official name of this tool is a pusher downer. Somebody thought hard about that one. I'm lucky to have hat blocks on stands, because then I can pop this thing off. And we want to get this rope down to the bottom of the hassock. I only have the towel underneath because my wife would kill me if I did this on her nice butcher block counter. We're nice and even here. We're going to take this over into the next room and we're going to iron this brim. I do like to throw some kind of material over the top of the brim just so we don't scorch it upon hitting it with the iron first. Got a nice little steamer here. Steam is our friend. Because believe it or not, this hat's already starting to dry up. So the steaming will help to loosen it up. And what we're doing is we're getting the brim flat, but we're also creating a nice crease where the crown hits that brim. We want a nice, sharp 90-degree angle out of that thing. This hat stretched really nice. So this is, like I said, this is 100% rabbit. I just love working with it. It's a 230 grain. I can get a lower grain, but I feel like these hold up a little bit better. And for the price difference, I think it's totally worth it. Oh, we're just about there. So this is where we left ourselves. This hat is not completely dry yet, but once it's dry, we will remove this rope. Our brim is already flat. We will pop the hat block out of there, and basically what we will end up with is this for the most part. Hat block is out. This is for my good bunny Vinny, who's actually behind the camera right now. Say hi, Vinny. This is his head size. This is all dried up. And then my next step is, and I love this because I can talk to the customers and figure out what they want. We could talk favorite colors. We have all different kinds of color sweatbands. I love this red. But I've decided to go with a black for him because I like it up against that gray. And then many times I'll ask the customer, like, what's your favorite color? A lot of places sew in the sweatbands in a way where you cannot see the thread, and I understand it, but I sure do love that little pop of color in there. And because I'm going for that personalized look, if somebody's favorite color is yellow or blue or what have you, we can make a stitch so that you can actually see that. And I think people appreciate it. So this hat is ready to go out. We're going to step out to my garage and we're going to do what's called a pounding process. We're going to sand this baby smooth. And then my favorite part of all time is we're going to light this hat on fire. If you're wondering where I'm at, most of the time you're probably going to find me out here. So welcome to my garage. And you can see I get my hands involved in a little bit of everything. I just love it. I can jump from wood burnings to hats to cornhole boards for friends of mine who are going to open a bar in Bonita Springs. So it's just been a blast. I'm so blessed. But back to the hats. So the next process is called the pounding process. These hats come, they're a little furry. They're not as smooth as you would want. So this pounding process is going to take some of this furriness off of here. And we're going to smooth up this hat. Use a hat sanding block. I think this is a 320 grit is what they recommend. And it's kind of funny, the first time I did this, I'd never realized how much was going to be coming off. But we're going to get a lot of this off of here. I like to do the brim all going the same direction so that when you feel it, it's just going to feel nice and smooth. And you can do this, you can go around as many times as you want. All you're going to accomplish, the more you go around, you're going to get a softer feel to the hat, but it's also going to get thinner. And I don't like to sacrifice some of the body. I like a little bit of the thickness in the hat because I just feel like it feels a little bit richer to me. Nice. Nice. Did I mention I don't like heat and fire? I really need to find a new hobby. I love this stuff. Don't worry about the discolorization. It's just a little bit of singe. Okay, this is what's called a brim cutter, and my buddy Vinny likes a wide brim. We're going to try to do a 4.5 inch brim on this guy. That's the biggest brim I've ever done. Aren't you lucky? So this end will butt up against the inside of the hat. I don't know if you can see, there's a little blade inside there. It's just a utility blade sticking down. And the plate underneath is nice because it protects whatever's underneath. And if we do it right, it should meet right up with each other, and that's what we got. So we got a 4.5-inch brim here ready to go. We're gonna steam this sucker and start making it look like a real hat. So we're ready to go. We do have our steamer inside here, and just like we did before, I got to get this thing steamed up to where it'll become supple. Love that word. So that we can shape it. We won't even need to distress it for you. It'll get plenty distressed out there at your Little Wonders Ranch. Shameless plug. Go check those guys out online. It's cute. I don't need to have goats and pigs and chickens and turkeys. I could just go to Vinny's house.
Yeah, my house.
Yeah, and then I leave.
Yeah.
It's like kids, you know. Kids are great. Then you just leave them with the parents.
Hey.
All right, Vinny's decided he wants like a traditional cattleman crown, just like you would see in the old days. But that is the shape that has withstood the test of time. So you can see just by me holding it, it's starting to lose its rigidity. You just want to make sure you get a nice line between front and back. This is where more like a sculpting comes in. We can do a high crown. We can go a little bit lower. I'm guessing because Vinny's more of my traditional cowboy friend, he's going to want it a little bit higher. And at this point, we're just trying to make everything smooth. A lot of this you can't see, but you could feel when there's a little bump in there or something. There's so many different shapes we can go with. I mean, like I said, this is a traditional cattleman, but you can make the dimples bigger, you can make the top section wider. People just think you're shaping hats, but really what we're doing here is, I mean, we're creating art in a way. I've always wanted to try sculpting, and look at me now. It's the only thing I can really compare it to. But you can see how our shape is starting to come together. And when this thing dries, it's going to get rigid again. So we want to hit it while it's still a little warm. But that there is your traditional cattleman. And now we're going to try and mess with this brim a little bit. Nice part about doing this is mistakes are fixable. If you shape a hat and somebody says, hey, it's a little bit wider than I thought, can you do this? We can just re-steam it. If you have an old hat that's kind of lost its shape and you really like it because it fits your head good, bring it to me. We'll re-steam that thing and reshape it, and if we have to put a new sweatband in, we can do all kinds of stuff to get that hat looking good as new. Kind of what you're going for.
That's good.
I'll let you try it on real quick too, just to make sure it's centered. All right, so I'm doubling up on the thread just because it'll give it more strength. And then popping a little knot in here. Obviously, we'll come through the back side first. And it'll make it stick. So I'm gonna sew one side in first, just so I know that I got you centered with your dimple here, and then I'll pull this thing around, we'll sew it tight, and then we'll put a couple just holding stitches around, and then we'll
Getting there. What's next?
we're gonna put a little bling bling on there for my boy. I don't know. I've used these a couple times. They're just old, not even old. They're brand new from Lowe's. Shameless plug. I go to Lowe's because my wife gets 10% off. She's a veteran. Thank you, Lowe's. Thank you, wife. But we're just gonna kind of cover up that little seam. Just a little bit of bling. And being that my boy's a working man, you should appreciate a good old nail sticking in there. Okay, we've sewn in our band. We put a little bling on there for my buddy. This is a nice, clean, cattleman looking hat. And I can just in the time that we've been here and I've put this band on, and Vinny can attest to this, but I can feel this is dry and it starts to really stiffen up. The brim is stiff. We can even put a little bit of shellac on this. You can spray it on or even brush it, and it'll just give more rigidity to this hat. Maybe secure it a little bit better, but I always like a little bit of a finishing touch here because we want to do things right. And we're going to pop in a little silk liner. Look at that black paisley. That's beautiful. This liner can serve a couple of purposes. It's decorative, so it makes it look nice. But it can also stop the top of the hat from getting any sweat and stuff like that in there. And that looks pretty. It's just classy. And then I always like to finish up because I need people to spread the word. Always got to throw your calling card in there, right? Mm-hmm. So I bury a couple of these inside the band here. Hopefully somebody will come up to Vinny and say, "Hey man, where did you get that hat?" And he could just reach right inside there. Pull out my card. Give me a call. We'll make one of these beauties for you. So there you go. I got a couple little finishing touches I'm going to do to this hat for him. I'm going to stiffen this brim up a little bit with some shellac. But you got your traditional cattleman crown, 4.5-inch brim, dipped down in the front a little bit and sloped up on the sides. This is a sharp looking hat. I'm really happy with it. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me on this little journey. Once again, my name is Doug. Burnt and Branded is the name of the company. You can find me online at burntandbranded.com. You can email me, doug@burntandbranded.com. My website has my contact information. You can even leave me a message through there. So I'm local here to Florida. I would love to make you a hat, and I can ship as well. I had a couple hats in Minnesota, one in Arkansas, Texas, Illinois, and let's try to fill up all the states. Why not? I love it, man. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I appreciate it.